morning, students. I am Assistant Instructor Salah Al-Hassin. For the rest of the year, I'm going to be teaching you better English pronunciation by J.D. O'Connor. The title underlies phonetics. Phonetics is the study of a human speech sounds. This is a wide and general definition. Well, phonetics is divided into three important branches. The first branch is articulatory phonetics. The second branch is acoustic phonetics. The third branch is auditory phonetics. The subject you are responsible for is the first branch, which is articulatory phonetics. Articulatory phonetics deals with how human sounds, human speech sounds are produced. In the first chapter, the author deals with some important issue, which is the native and the non-native language. On page 2, he explains, J.D. O'Connor explains why it is difficult for adults to learn, not to acquire, to learn a second language. And he gives the reason on page 2 when he says the answer to this question is that our native language won't let us, because only when we are children we acquire our native language, meaning sounds and rules, grammar rules. Only when we are children we learn the native language in a source of imitation. We imitate what our father, mother, parents, brothers, sisters say. We imitate what they say. This source of imitation starts with the sounds, for example, papa, mama, because they are easier to produce. And he compares the native sounds, the sounds of the native language into boxes in our minds. And when we hear the sounds of another language, we try to compare the sounds of the non-native language to the nearest sounds of the native language. For example, native speakers of English will compare الصوت خ بالعربية إلى أقرب صوت في الإنجليزية. The box, الصندوق, which includes خ كأنما يستمع إلى الصوت خ كصوت ك, because he doesn't have a box includes the sound خ, لأنه في لغته الأم لا توجد الصوت خ, لذلك يقربه إلى أقرب صوت ك. This is a very important point concerning native and non-native language. Now, on page 5, J.D. O'Connor presents a topic entitled Which English? J.D. O'Connor advises second language learners to follow RP, Received Pronunciation, or BBC English. On page 6, he defines يعرف Received Pronunciation or BBC English as all English which is spoken in the south of England, and it is the Queen Elizabeth of the educated one. Another important issue in chapter 1 is letters and sounds, and he starts saying that these, it means letters and sound, must never be mixed up. Letter is something and a sound is something else. A letter is written to be seen, a sound is uttered to be heard. So these must never be mixed up. And he gives an example to explain the fact that there is no one-to-one relationship between sounds and letters. For example, in the words city, busy, we have 5 different letters and pronounced with one sound. So different letters can be pronounced, and one letter may be different words pronounced different. Man, bother, man, many. All are written with the letter A, but pronounced as different sounds. So there is no one-to-one correlation between letters and sounds. Now, how the speech organs work. This is the title for Chapter 2. How the speech organs work in English. To define speech organs simply, speech organs are the organs of the human body which are created for primary and secondary functions. The primary functions, for example, the lungs are created for breathing. The tongue is created for chewing the gum, for taste. The teeth, for example, are created to cut the lamb or the food into pieces. What is important here is the second function. The second function is the secondary function, which is speech. And as I said, the lungs are created for breathing, but at the same time, they push the outgoing air. They push the outgoing air in order to facilitate speech. How? When we push the air out, it is usually obstructed by at least 2 speech organs in order to produce a sound. For example, when I exhalate, P, the 2 lips obstruct the outgoing air, producing the bilabial voiced B. This is an example for how we human beings use the outgoing airstream mechanism, outgoing air, to produce B sound. On page 13, there is a diagram, a figure, shows the speech organs. In J.D. O'Connor, the lungs are excluded. He only includes nasal cavity, lips, teeth, larynx, vocal cords, pharynx, tongue, palate. Let's come to them one by one. Of course, the most important speech organ is the vocal cords. The vocal cords. The vocal cords can be defined as 2 small bands of elastic tissue, حزمتان من النسيج المرن, lying opposite each other across the air passage. تقع متقابلة واحدة مع الأخرى في مسار الهوائي قرب البلعوم. أما بالنسبة للجزء الذي يحتضنها يسمى larynx. Larynx is the housing that includes the vocal cords. There are 3 cases for the vocal cords. The first case is that when they are widely open, so the air goes out freely. The second case is that when they come apart, very close to each other, and the air goes not freely. The third case is when they come firmly together, like when we cough. The opening between the vocal cords is called the glottis. الفتحة بين الحبال الصوتية تسمى glottis. The glottis is the opening between the vocal cords. And they are explained in page 14. The palate is an important unmovable speech organ which is divided into the alveolar ridge, المنطقة بعد الأثنى the hard palate سقف الفم الصلب and the soft palate. The soft palate is a very important speech organ. Why? Because it's a movable gate, just like a movable gate. When it is lowered, احنا نسميه اللهات. When it is lowered, the air goes out the nasal cavity, so we have the nasal sound. When it is raised, the air goes out the oral cavity, so we have the oral sounds. Now, the teeth are unmovable speech organ which are used to produce certain sounds. For example, th and the. The tongue is a very important movable speech organ which can have different positions. It is important for both vowels and consonants. In consonants, it is used to produce, for example, t and de, and in vowels, the movement of the tongue is the step responsible for the modification of the outgoing air and producing them. The lips are a movable speech organ which can be used, for example, to produce fe and the. So the lower lip is more important than the upper lip. Thank you very much.